On the night of April 10, a military helicopter flew over the territory of the Moscow region. Putin's army, without understanding what was going on, decided, just in case, to strike it, mistaking it for a drone of the armed forces of Ukraine. This interesting story was observed with their own eyes by residents of Moscow region, who later posted the footage on the internet, reports the resource. Russian publics write that on the night of April 10, the territory of the Moscow region was allegedly attacked by drones. Helicopters were sent to intercept them, and one of them was detected by the Russian air defense system as a drone. Z channels also confirmed the incident in the area of the city of Naro-Fominsk. Propagandists also wrote that it was in this area that the drone was allegedly shot down. Residents of Naro-Fominsk confirmed loud sounds similar to an explosion that thundered on April 9 at 22:30. During the bang, many Russians' windows shook and car alarms went off. It is possible that this was an emergency with the helicopter. However, there is no more information, which means that the enemy helicopter managed to reach its base. The Russian Ministry of Defense often uses helicopters and other aircraft to combat drones. Already early in the morning of April 10, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported the downing of allegedly 42 drones over the territories of Kursk, Bryansk, Moscow, Belgorod, Oryol and Crimea. Earlier, media reported that on April 9, Ukrainian armed forces drones dealt a serious blow to a gunpowder factory in Chapayevsk. The strike took place on the night of April 5. Ukrainian drones, having flown about 900 kilometers, accurately hit a Russian gunpowder factory. Eyewitnesses reported numerous explosions. Then it turned out that the strike was extremely effective. The spy dossier claims that the strike was carried out by 13 Ukrainian drones. As a result, significant damage was inflicted on the units for nitration of pentaerythritol tetranitrate, the so-called TENA, TNT and benzene. In addition, the production line of TNT blocks was damaged. Administrative buildings, warehouses with finished products, and tanks with reagents were bombed. The strikes were accompanied by a secondary detonation at the plant due to the specifics of the products being manufactured, the Telegram channel reported.
Стреляют. Ебать. Ебать, тут пули летят.
The internal conflict between the Kremlin and Ramzan Kadyrov, the head of Chechnya, is rapidly expanding beyond the confines of a behind-the-scenes struggle. Details have emerged about plans to hand over power to his son, contacts with Qatar, and pressure on Kadyrov's allies, which could mean the beginning of a new round of confrontation. Experts do not rule out that Russia risks entering a third Chechen war, this time within itself. Chechnya has long been perceived as a special subject, still part of Russia. Against the backdrop of weakening centralized power and growing contradictions, the situation has begun to resemble preparations for a large-scale political and military conflict. Sources of the investigative project VCHK-OGPU. There are reports of a serious rift between the Kremlin and Kadyrov, caused by his intention to transfer power in the Republic to his 17-year-old son, Adam. One of the sources claims to have seen Kadyrov in person 7 days ago. According to him, if this continues, the head of Chechnya will soon be unable to perform his duties, even partially due to health problems, which is why he is actively looking for an option to preserve assets, control over Chechnya, and the safety of his family. According to sources, during the last informal meeting with Putin in August 2024, Kadyrov directly stated his desire to see Adam as his successor. However, the Kremlin responded with a categorical refusal. After that, according to interlocutors, Kadyrov began secret negotiations with the leadership of Qatar, where two of his closest confidants are already located. Against the backdrop of Kadyrov's deteriorating health, his entourage began actively restructuring the internal mechanisms of governing Chechnya. An unofficial ban was introduced on the activity of Chechen security officials and racketeers outside the region, including Kadyrov's closest ally, State Duma Deputy Adam Delimkhanov, who was given to understand that any participation in the showdown in the capital could result in the surfacing of old, forgotten cases. The sources also say that the FSB has passed on to the Kremlin information about Kadyrov's numerous unauthorized negotiations with Middle Eastern Muslim states regarding the future of his family's assets and personal security. This has become one of the main reasons for the breakdown of trust between Putin and Kadyrov. Russia has already experienced two bloody Chechen campaigns in the 1990s and the early 2000s. Both began as internal conflicts that escalated into full-scale military action. Today, despite Chechnya's formal subordination to Moscow, the public behaves like an independent state with its own order, army, and external contacts. This makes the risk of a third Chechen war quite real. While the Kremlin maintains an outward calm, the problems are multiplying. Chechnya's autonomy is growing. The vertical of power is weakening, and the very idea of Russian unity is being undermined. The conflict between Putin and Kadyrov is no longer just a personal quarrel. It is a symptom of a deep crack in the country's political body.